My name is Sarah. I'm a recent college graduate and just started my first job. Sarah, you're still in training, right? What's it like? Are there any interesting colleagues or supervisors? My childhood friend Lisa, who I've known since kindergarten and all through college, eagerly asks me on a day off. She's still a student since she went on to grad school. She's bombarding me with questions since I entered the working world a bit earlier. We finished the overall training, and now we're in departmental training. My company is quite into fitness, which is interesting. We start the day with exercises, and we even do vocal exercises. What? That's so strange. Yeah, it's unique. They really emphasize health. There are even teams for tennis, soccer, and jogging. Are you forced to join them? Not at all. New hires are encouraged to try out a few teams and join if they're interested. Sounds like a fun company. How about you, Sarah? I joined the jogging team. I don't usually exercise, so I thought it would be good for my health and weight loss. Plus, it's at my own pace. Not too strict. Wow, impressive. I wouldn't join any, I hate exercising. You can quit anytime. I think it's good for building connections with people from other departments. Oh, I see. You get to talk with people of different ages and departments, like an extension of college activities. It's fun. The company I joined is a small to medium-sized business, but thanks to these teams, both employees and part-timers get along well. Even though I'm in my first year, I like this company and want to do my best. But you seem kind of tired. You know me too well. My best friend's sharp observation makes me smile wryly. Yes, I like the company atmosphere and don't mind being busy, but there's one big concern, a person who's a significant obstacle. Want to quit? Wow, kids these days have no perseverance. You were useless from the start. The shrill voice of Mrs. Owen, the CEO's wife, echoes from a private room used for meetings and interviews. Even though she should be in a private room, the door is left open, and her high-pitched voice is clearly audible on the floor. It's as if she's leaving the door open on purpose to humiliate the part-time worker she's talking to. The part-time woman must be feeling very intimidated. You suddenly stop coming, you abandon your duties for days, and now you're quitting? If you think you can just walk away because you are a part-timer, you are mistaken. I won't let you use your paid leave. I'll deduct your salary for the time you were absent. It's beyond harsh, it's terrifying. The last time I saw the part-time worker, she was in tears. Are you okay? Did something happen? Mrs. Owen scolded me again. I'm trying my best, but she just doesn't like me. I've been feeling unwell because of it. She spoke in a trembling, small voice. I'm sure it took a lot of courage for her to come in and tender her resignation. Paid leave and resignation are workers' rights, they should let her go without bullying her, I thought with a sigh. It's only been about 3 months since I joined, and this is the third time I've seen such a scene. Mrs. Owen, the CEO's wife, makes the employees call her a madam and seems to be in charge of HR. But it looks like she only wants to have a say in hiring, firing, and assignments, not handling the actual HR work, which she leaves to the managers and employees. She seems to have a few favorite young male employees and speaks to them in a sweet, gentle voice. And it appears that any woman who gets close to her favorite men becomes her target and is bullied for no reason. This is what I've heard from the senior members of the jogging team, and it seems to be mostly true based on what I've seen and heard. The CEO, Mr. Owen, is a hands-on person, rarely in the office, and usually stays in his own office when he is. Mrs. Owen doesn't get angry when he's around, so he probably doesn't know about her behavior. There's no one who can tell him about it. Mr. Owen is known to be a considerate person who listens to his employees, so it's hard to believe his wife is such a person. Maybe she accepted the resignation. Mrs. Owen walks out of the conference room and heads to the floor, looking for some documents. Trailing behind her is the tearful part-timer. Finding replacements takes effort too. You should at least find someone and finish the handover before quitting. Right? Mrs. Owen seeks agreement from the nearby employees, causing tension among them. Everyone pretended to focus on their work, but no one could ignore her, so they nodded. Then, oh? You look like you have something to say. Ah, well. I had been empathetically watching the part-timer and now had caught Mrs. Owen's eye. Whether you're an employee or a part-timer, as long as you receive a salary, you should be responsible for your work, right? Yes. Just from these words, she seemed to be saying the right thing. I had no choice but to agree when questioned. Exactly. It's unacceptable to take time off for personal reasons or to quit in the middle of a contract, right? Yes, but I couldn't help but start to object when she shot me a withering look. Remember, don't act selfishly. Order is important. Everyone who works properly is appreciated. Right? In the end, I couldn't say anything, and the part-timer, standing there like a scapegoat, remained downcast. Later, a few salespeople returned, and Mrs. Owen, who must have had a favorite among them, approached them with a bright smile, saying, "Welcome back. Good job." I regret not being able to help the part-timer who was crying and just going along with Mrs. Owen. People like that really exist, huh? No wonder you're stressed. Sorry, I ended up complaining. It's fine. You shouldn't bottle it up. Besides, it's understandable that you couldn't argue back. If you did, you'd be her next target. Be careful. You're right. By the way, there's a senior in the jogging team among the salespeople. He came to talk to me afterward. But I was being watched intensely. That's scary. Is the senior good-looking? Maybe they're one of her favorites. I'm not sure. Oh, that reminds me. I remembered and changed the subject. Hey, about the trip. You told me about 2 inns last time. Both seem great, and I can't decide. My grandparents love seafood. So I thought this one would be better. What do you think? That was the main topic. She, who often traveled with her family, had been advising me. If they like seafood, then yes, this one is perfect. Even my picky grandma was satisfied with it. It can't go wrong. My best friend gave her a seal of approval with a smile. Great. I finally get to show my appreciation, and I hope they'll enjoy it. I had been planning a trip with my grandparents with the money I had saved. They raised me after my parents passed away when I was little. They always put me first and supported me, so I wanted to give something back. That's why I decided on a trip with them. With the money I saved from part-time jobs during college and my first paycheck, I splurged on a luxurious inn. A relaxing stay at a luxurious inn with their grandchild, of course, they'll be thrilled. They'll definitely be delighted. Yeah. Her smile made me smile too. But on Friday afternoon, the day before the trip, Mrs. Owen called me. Here are the resumes and job histories of the new part-time candidates. I need you to compile the data and create interview sheets. Isn't this an HR task? Why me? Oh, you're a new employee. Now's the time to experience various tasks, right? You seemed interested in HR work when that part-timer quit the other day. How did it come to this? It's clear she just didn't like my sympathy for the part-timer, but arguing would get me nowhere. When do you need it by? By Monday morning. What? This Monday? Of course. Wait a minute, today is Friday. I have my own work to do too. Naturally, you should finish your own work first. You can come in over the weekend. You'll get overtime pay. She smiled sweetly. To me, her beautiful smile looked like that of a witch. Interviews start on Monday, so no delays. Oh, and look through past files and summarize the trends for those who were hired. Here you go. She dumped a thick file on my desk. All of this? I was too stunned to speak, and she said triumphantly. Glad you understand. You've been ignoring instructions and getting carried away at work lately. The beginning is crucial. I had no idea what she was talking about. Unable to tolerate her baseless accusations, I decided to speak up. Excuse me, but today is Friday, with less than 2 hours left until the end of the day. I also have my current tasks. Even if I work overtime, there's no way I can finish this by Monday. I tried to keep my voice calm despite my boiling anger. Since that part-timer quit, Mrs. Owen had targeted me, subtly harassing me. She would ask me to serve tea or run errands only when I was busy, give wrong copying instructions, and then blame me for delaying meetings. Even during jogging team activities, I often felt her sharp gaze. I had been enduring daily stress, but dumping an unmanageable workload on me right before my much-anticipated trip was too much. She seemed unaffected by my objection. That's why I said you could come in over the weekend. Oh, and HR documents are confidential, so don't take them home. Wait a minute. I tried to protest, but she cut me off. I have an appointment now. See you, and left. The next day, I was on the trip with my grandparents as planned. They kept giving me concerned looks as I stifled yawns. Are you sure you're okay? We can postpone if you need to. I'm fine, don't worry. I've been looking forward to this trip. Despite my reassurance, they were worried because I had worked all night and barely made it home in time to leave. Of course, I had informed them, but they must have been anxious last night. I couldn't let that ruin our trip. I needed them to enjoy it too. I mentally steeled myself and smiled at them. Look at the ocean, it's so beautiful. I'm glad it's sunny. Don't worry about me. The seafood here is supposed to be amazing. I'm excited. Seeing me so enthusiastic, they finally turned their attention to the scenery. But even in the midst of enjoying the trip, an unbelievable nightmare awaited me. Did you finish the work I assigned? You didn't leave it unfinished, did you? I heard a familiar voice while wandering the inn after check-in. Mrs. Owen. Why was she here? Meeting the witch here, of all places. As if hearing my thoughts, she snorted. I thought I'd ruin your cheerful weekend plans by giving you some homework. I see you ignored my instructions. Her words felt like a witch's curse, making my head spin. Did you intentionally assign me that work to ruin my trip? Knowing I had plans and assigning an impossible task just to ruin them? Anger started to bubble up inside me. But how did you know where I was staying? I knew she eavesdropped on our conversations sometimes, but this was too much. I heard you chatting during lunch breaks and jogging team activity. You were so excited, boasting about your trip. It was laughable. Eavesdropping. It's your fault for bragging. The thought of her listening to every detail of my conversations made me shudder. Besides, this inn is beyond your means. What? I tilted my head in confusion, and she let out an exaggerated sigh. Don't you get it? This is a luxury inn, and someone like you has no place here. You're an eyesore. Useless employees like you should go to the rundown place next door. Suppressing the rising anger, I said. I don't understand what you mean. I know you find me bothersome, but the rest is just harassment and insults. I wasn't slacking off or doing anything to her, yet she continued her unreasonable attacks. And now she was ruining my important trip with my grandparents. That's it. Even if it means quitting, I decided to speak up. Is that what was going on? A calm voice, not fitting the tension, came from behind me. Grandma. Grandpa, too. My grandparents, whom I thought were having coffee in the room, were standing behind me. Judging by the situation, they must have heard almost the entire conversation. Oh, this is... I tried to explain, but my grandmother interrupted and addressed Mrs. Owen. Nice to meet you. I'm Sarah's grandmother and have been like a parent to her for many years. My name is Jessica Martin. But it might be quicker to say I'm the honorary chairman of Martin Trading, which recently discussed a deal with your company. My grandmother introduced herself in a relaxed tone. Mrs. Owen's face turned pale upon hearing this. What? Martin Trading. Her voice cracked. The industry leader? And the honorary chairman? But the name is different from this employee's. There's nothing strange about it. When my daughter got married, she took her husband's name. It's easier not to be known as a member of a famous founding family. Oh, no. This child takes after her mother, I suppose. Though she could have joined our company. She chose to find a job on her own and got hired through her own efforts. I'm terribly sorry. I had no idea. Mrs. Owen's face drained of all color. Do you think ignorance excuses any disrespectful behavior? Do you discriminate based on family background? Ah, no, I mean. While my grandmother maintained a calm expression, Mrs. Owen, with her perfectly made-up face, was sweating and frozen in place. Could you inform Mr. Owen that the deal we discussed will be called off? No, please wait. Ignoring her panicked voice, my grandmother continued. I was looking forward to my granddaughter working in a company she said emphasized health and even had exercise teams. I thought it sounded like a great place. Next to her, my grandfather nodded in agreement. And in the business report from the other day, I heard Mr. Owen is a person of good character and we could have a good relationship. It's unfortunate that his wife is such a person. Ah, well. Despite her calm demeanor, my grandmother's words cut sharply. Let's go, Sarah, she said with a smile, turning to me. Wait. Not the deal, please. She trembled as she tried to cling to my grandmother's back, but my grandmother sharply rebuked her. It's too late to change your tune now. Causing her to collapse on the spot. Could you help me out? It's fine if the work I asked for yesterday isn't done, just please. Mrs. Owen, now desperate, turned to me, pleading. I refuse. Also, I didn't leave the work unfinished. I completed it before I came. You can check it on Monday. I wanted to yell at her for all the unfair treatment, but I followed my grandmother's example and answered with a smile. On Monday at work. The sales department, which had been thrilled about the deal with Martin Trading, was buzzing about its sudden cancellation. It seemed Mrs. Owen had done something to cause this. Hey, you. Mrs. Owen, her face red with anger, approached me. Did you already inform them to cancel the deal? It's too much, from yesterday to today. I have no control over Martin Trading's decisions. And I heard you had the HR department help you prepare the interview materials. Who do you think you are, a newbie bossing people around? I authorized it. What? The person who spoke was Mr. Owen himself. Mr. Owen. Good morning. Everyone greeted him. Honey. She looked bewildered at her husband's sudden appearance. On Friday night, I returned from a trip and came to this floor for some work. I saw the new employee here looking overwhelmed with tasks, while others watched worriedly but didn't help. I thought something was wrong and asked her about it. Mr. Owen gestured for me to explain to his wife, who was still confused. Mrs. Owen instructed me to complete HR tasks by Monday and to work over the weekend if necessary. But no matter how hard I tried, it was impossible to do it alone. That's when Mr. Owen showed up and I could consult with the others. What? I also spoke to the HR team. They said you ordered her to do their work and told them not to help her. Well, it's true that we need to prepare for the interviews, but analyzing past files isn't urgent. Why did you give her HR tasks? Well, isn't it important for new employees to gain experience? She mentioned she was interested in hiring part-timers. I never said that. She always has an excuse. I thought. But Mr. Owen ignored her lame justification. I could have told her not to do it, but she insisted on doing it. I allowed HR to help her with the interview materials, as they were needed today. I might have misjudged the workload. But it's resolved now, right? The main issue is this: I've been focused on sales and haven't been around much, but I heard you've been driving part-timers away. Who said that? They quit on their own. We're the ones suffering from their irresponsibility. Right? She looked around for support, but everyone stared back coldly. Our company values health, both physical and mental. It's fine to work hard. But overloading employees or pressuring them to the point of mental breakdown is unacceptable. Mr. Owen's voice echoed through the floor, and I almost clapped. And to give unreasonable tasks to ruin her weekend with her grandparents is disgraceful. No, honey, it's not like that. And to top it off, you even showed up at her weekend trip destination? I can't believe this. You need to leave. What? What are you saying? Yes, get out. Wait, what? Did Mr. Owen just say what I think he said? I was so shocked I almost responded out loud. We need to apologize for the Martin trading deal. Please, let's ask her to talk to her grandmother again. After you behaved so disgracefully at the inn? Also, who did you go there with? What? A sudden change in direction caught her off guard. I tilted my head in confusion. I found out about the unreasonable tasks on Friday night. I also heard about her trip with her grandparents. Then on Saturday, you suddenly went on an overnight trip with a friend. The terrifying witch seemed to have disappeared, replaced by a pale, trembling woman. I thought something was off. I've already looked into it. Let's discuss this elsewhere. He looked at her firmly and then addressed everyone on the floor. Sorry for the disturbance. Everyone, please get back to work. I'll handle the Martin trading situation personally. Please be patient. Mrs. Owen, now silent and defeated, slumped over. A month later, Mrs. Owen was no longer in her position. Besides bullying part-timers and female employees, it turned out she was having an affair with a young male contract worker. She was known for targeting women who were close to her favorites, but no one expected this. The man she took on the trip was a young contract worker. Planning to leave after his contract ended, he casually admitted the affair when questioned by Mr. Owen, claiming it was just a fling for both of them. He wasn't very smart. Throwing away her life by getting involved with such a man while having someone as respectable as Mr. Owen as her husband. Mrs. Owen wasn't also smart at all. Meanwhile, our company successfully secured the deal with my grandmother's company as initially planned. Martin Trading was already interested, and Mr. Owen's swift and sincere actions after the incident sealed the deal. I felt a renewed sense of determination. Word spread at work that I was the granddaughter of Martin Trading's honorary chairman. You got the job on your own despite that? You've got guts. You don't seem like an heiress at all. Because I'm not. We'll keep training you hard. Everyone continued to treat me kindly and didn't change their attitudes. And now, I'm diligently saving up again, hoping to take another trip with my grandparents without any worries this time. It might take some time, but please look forward to it, Grandpa and Grandma. With my colleagues and my precious family. I want to cherish the time I have with these wonderful people like a treasure.